Hi, I'm Helen, and this is my husband Paul.
Hello.
We are both originate from the UK, but we've been living in Malaysia for the past 2 years now. I am legally blind. I was born with a genetic eye condition, degenerative, called retinitis pigmentosa, better known as RP. I grew up not really knowing that there was that much wrong with my sight. I kind of just thought that nobody else could see things that were around them, tripped over them, and I thought nobody else can see in the dark. And then I was 17 years old and people started questioning that and saying, well, actually, we can, you should be able to. And I eventually got told that I had an eye condition that was completely untreatable, incurable, and would gradually get worse and worse until one day the chances were I would lose my sight. So that's quite a lot to come to terms with when you're a young person, and you have an awful lot of obstacles to face in your life, really. But one thing I was very determined about was I wasn't going to let it affect my life, and I don't think it ever has. I've had an incredibly successful career, working in international advertising and marketing all over the world. I've travelled a lot with my job. I've lived and worked abroad. I met my husband 13 years ago when he was also working abroad, working in the Middle East. And we decided we would start thinking about looking at making a move to live abroad at some stage. In my early 40s, having never run in my life, and having quite serious vision issues, a lovely friend of mine dared me one evening in the United Kingdom to run Bath Half Marathon. Bath Half Marathon is a city marathon. It has more than 15,000 competitors, and I didn't run in those days. And I laughed in the bar that night as she dared me and said, yeah, of course. And then the following morning, I entered the race. And 3 months later, I ran the race. I survived. I managed not to trip over the crowds. And I managed to push through, and I finished my first ever half marathon in 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I was so happy. Now, I ran that on my own. And in those days, it probably wasn't a very good idea to run on my own, but I did. And I stopped running after that, and then about 12 months later, I got the bug again, and I decided, no, I'm going to join a running club. I'm going to take up park run, which I used to do every Saturday, and I started to get to really enjoy what I was doing, and I got to be very, very competitive. But as the years went by, my sight was getting worse, and you were getting more and more difficulties, and I had to run with somebody as a guide runner. And I started initially running with my husband, who was way too slow for me in those days. Luckily for him, he's improved over the years. And we started doing races together, and I started thinking about what I wanted to achieve out of my running career, and I started getting competitive with other people. About 3 years ago, I won my age category in the State Road Race League, which I was so incredibly proud of. I think everybody was laughing as I was jumping up and down with joy when I got given my big, huge cup. And then I started thinking about what else I wanted to achieve. And then not long after that, I was incredibly lucky. I bumped into a group called VI Runners Bristol, which is based in the southwest of England, and they are a group of blind and visually impaired runners. with guide runners, and the guides are trained to run, and they try and get more and more people involved to run, and that was phenomenal for me. It was a real eye-opener to be able to suddenly have access to this great pool of resource, and to be able to have people that are willing to help and to support, and you have that incredible network. And I started to race more. I started to find that my times were getting faster, and I started to really enjoy the freedom that running could offer, and I was meeting more and more like-minded people, more and more blind or visually impaired people that wanted access to be able to run, and giving that opportunity to people to be able to run. And then I had this great idea. This would be, 3 years ago, I guess now. I had this idea that I wanted to run a full marathon. It was originally suggested to me by a friend of mine that used to run parkrun with me, and I think it started out as a bit of a joke on his behalf. And then he ran a brand new marathon himself at Newport in South Wales in the United Kingdom, and he phoned me up after it and he said, "We're running this together next year." And then I said, "Okay, we are." And I said, "But one thing, I want to run in under 4 hours." And to run a full marathon in under 4 hours gives you a good for age entry as an elite runner to one of the major marathons. So nothing like being competitive. And I trained and I trained. I got myself a new coach who's still my coach today. So Coach Keith, based in the UK, who trains a lot of elite athletes around the world. And I trained really hard, and on the day I finished my first ever marathon in 3 hours and 56 minutes. So beating my target time by 4 minutes, and I couldn't have been more pleased or more proud. And the photos and the videos of the finish line show how incredibly fulfilling it is for a guide runner when you see the smiles and the huge elation on the face of my guide runner Ken that day, and it really was phenomenal. And the people that turned out to watch and support, and it's that whole support network of having people around you. About a month after I finished my first ever marathon, we made the trip to Penang. And we made our move, and we now live in Penang, and we have done for more than 2 years now. We live here under the Malaysia My Second Home scheme. We recce'd Malaysia about 18 months before we made our permanent move out of here. And we toured Kuala Lumpur and Malacca, Penang and Langkawi. We loved everything that we saw, but we fell in love with Penang. Why Penang? What did we like about it? It had an amazing infrastructure. It had wonderful people. It had a great local community, which was hugely important to us. We didn't just want to be expats. We wanted to integrate with the local community and be part and parcel of that. And we wanted opportunities. We wanted to carry on with our sports. We wanted to learn new sports. And we wanted to feel really part of something. And we couldn't be happier for having made that move here. We were welcomed here with open arms. We discovered a huge multicultural place in Penang where different races were mixing and mingling together, living in cohesion, and cohesion's so important. And we discovered a hugely supportive network. What does Penang have though that maybe, what did we discover, I guess? When we first came to Recce, Penang, we found a lot of broken pavements. We found a lot of roads that were very busy, things that you couldn't move around on foot. And we thought, but we're our people, we walk everywhere. I obviously can't drive. My husband doesn't like driving. Then we moved here and we thought, wow, things have changed just in 18 months. There's obviously been a lot of money spent putting in tactile paving in Penang. And we met some people from St Nicholas Home, and it was explained how it was a great program, all the research that went into it, how they tested it, how the Chief Minister was so incredibly supportive about the need to have access for low vision people to be able to move around safely in the environment. I thought, oh, this is amazing. And I thought, we've been part of something that is great. And then you put it into practice. And tactile paving is wonderful. You see it, you think, you feel it with your white cane, and you think, this is amazing. We're going to have a great time moving around here. And then you come across a scooter on the pavement coming towards you in the wrong direction. Or he parks in the middle of the tactile paving. You ask him to move and he laughs at you. Well, I've had some great stories of somebody going, okay. And I go, no, okay. Why no, okay? I blind, okay. Okay, I move, okay. And those are just a few simple stories. The pedestrian lights, again, wonderful. There's lots of pedestrian lights to cross the main roads here. They beep, I can hear them. You start crossing the road and the car drives straight through the red lights. If I'm on my own, that car will hit me. The scooter goes straight through the red lights. They don't care. There's major road junctions like where we live. We live very close to the main junction of Jalan Tanjung Tokong and Jalan Fetes. That's very, very busy crossroads. If you want to cross from Precinct 10 or Island Plaza to Prima Tanjung, there's no pedestrian crossing. You've got 3 lanes of traffic on either direction. So what do? You have to cross through the traffic, through the central reservation, and through the traffic again. I can't do that on my own. Why has somebody not put something in place to make that easily accessible? It's not just visually impaired people, it's elderly people, it's people with other kinds of disabilities. You've got Gurney Drive. I love trees. Trees have roots. There's tree roots all down Gurney Drive. They're trip hazards. There's raised manhole covers. There's sunken manhole covers. And don't even get me started on speed bumps, and speed ramps, and any other holes in the pavement, holes in the road, all sorts of trip hazards. And it does come back down to, for blind people and for visually impaired people, it is a challenge of having that support network that they need. St Nicholas Home is an amazing resource here in Penang. There are great supports to Malaysian locals, but they've also been very welcoming to me and have offered me ease of access to any kind of training that I might require, which is wonderful. You've got things like public transport systems though. If you're non-Malaysian, then apparently you have no access to the ability to take advantage of discounted fares on that system. Why? You get some drivers that feel sorry for you. You get some people that stand up and give you their seat. There's others that will push somebody with a white stick out of the way. I've got examples of people in a race who take one look at you and think, I'm going to shove you out of the way because you're going to be in my way. Or they'll shout, or they'll talk really, really slowly. I'm blind, I'm not deaf, and I'm not stupid, and I can certainly run. My very first race here in Penang, we told the event organiser that I was blind, thinking that they should know. And they said, great, you can start at the front. And there were people trying to get past us and think, no, they're going to slow us up. And then I won my age category, and everybody couldn't believe that this blind person had suddenly come in running a 10K in 50 minutes. And then I ran Penang Bridge Marathon in 2018. And I ran in just over 4 hours, 4 hours, 20 minutes, I believe it was. But again, I actually had a friend that came from the United Kingdom to run with me, who struggled because of the heat and humidity out here. But the challenge here is finding people that are willing to be guide runners and who are willing to run with visually impaired people, and who are willing to give up their races, who are willing to train. I train 5 times a week. What if my husband's injured? then I can't train because I can't run on my own. I know people are scared to run with somebody that's visually impaired. It's not difficult. If you've got children, you're used to having eyes in the back of your head. I run with a tether. My tether is basically a child's rein. So somebody has to tell me if there's a speed bump coming. They have to go 3, 2, 1. If there's holes in the road, they have to tell me about it. So high feet or danger coming up, they have to tell me to turn left, turn right. It's nothing complicated though, and I've run here probably the last race before we all got shut down with COVID-19 would have been March 2019, and I ran Taiping half marathon, so 21k, in just under 2 hours I believe it was, running with my amazing friend Fish, who was born in Penang, lives in Penang. Has an additional challenge is that he's not very confident in his English. He'd never guided before he met me. He gave up his run as a super speedy runner to run with me that day and was a fantastic guide runner. And I hope he feels very proud that he got me a podium position that day. But the more people that can come forward and the more people that can train with us, and that's myself, other people that I know with visual impairment here in Penang, people from St. Nicholas, all of us who want to be able to do sports and want to be able to have access. And if you think about Penang Island and all the opportunities that are here, there is such amazing infrastructure here and such amazing opportunities for people with Penang Hill and the hikes and the trails, and trying to open up access to all, so that it's not just for people who are fully sighted or who don't have disabilities. People who are less fortunate should have the opportunity to be able to do sports, should have the opportunity to be able to use a running track, should have the opportunity to go hiking Penang Hill, should have the opportunity to be able to have a high-flying job and earn a very good salary and work independently, but they need a support network for that, and that's where the Malaysian government can help. That's where the Penang local government can help. That's where the local community can help. And that's where I think we're really, myself and my husband, we're really proud to have integrated, and we're really proud to have met some amazing people and to have really been welcomed to be part of the community. And we really, really cherish that, and we really want to be part of that, and we really want to be able to contribute something back to the community. And I just think that we want to be able to meet more and more people and be able to continue living a happy, fulfilled and a long life in this great country.
Well, the path around Penang is, I would say, we are getting there, improving a lot, but of course it's not as good as those paths that I experienced in UK or even in Japan. Japan was really good.
Yeah. What do you think they could do differently here in Penang that would help you then?
I think the most important thing here is education to awareness. I would say awareness to the public about people with vision impairment.
Yeah.
The challenge is that they have to understand how we move about, and we are not necessarily stereotyped in a particular way where you can identify us as blind. You didn't not categorize in a certain way where you can see a blind person, then you know that they are blind.
Yeah.
Unless they are holding a white cane like this, then probably you will know.
Yeah, so it's having a hidden disability, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
And how do you
yeah.
make people aware of that
Yes,
disability?
awareness is the most important thing. Yeah, I think.
And to understand when you need assistance and when you don't need assistance, so don't automatically see this
Yes.
white cane and think, oh, he wants to cross the road and put you in the wrong place.
Yeah, true. Yes.
So, are we going to run tonight then, Darren?
Yeah, great. I can't wait to run. Let's go.
Yay. So if any of you out there fancy the idea of becoming a guide runner, it's really not very difficult, it's really not very scary. You do not need any prior experience. And you just need to get in touch. There are people of all paces that want to have a guide runner. For me, yes, I will run a 10k race in 50 minutes. Yes, I'll run a half marathon in an hour and 50 minutes. And yes, I can run a marathon in under 4 hours. So you do need to be confident that you can run faster than me to run at that pace. But if you run as a pacer in a race, you're already giving up your race, and you've already got the confidence that you can hold that pace. So if you're running as a 1:45 pacer for a half marathon, then come and run with me. You'll love it. You can bully me, you can shout at me, you can tell me I'm going too slow, and you've got the great reward at the end of it by feeling that you've achieved something, because I can't run without you. I cannot train without somebody with me. I cannot race without somebody with me. I'm hugely grateful to anybody that runs with me. I only shout at my husband, honestly. I don't shout at my guide runners because I really, really need the support, and so do other visually impaired runners here need that support, and we need you to come forward and to come and train with us. I don't train at that pace, by the way, so any training run, I'll run at any pace, any distance, anywhere. It's just come and give it a go. And even if you only want to run one training run a month or one race every 2 years, that is hugely valuable to me. Anything whatsoever is incredibly useful. Thank you very much for all your support and for all those that have supported me so far on this journey.
The best events are at Howei.